right now, listen up.
3, 2, 1.
It's showtime.
That's great.
This is ridiculous.
99.3 The Truth.
You can't handle the truth right now.
Ooh.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Let's do it.
Hit it. It's time for Mac's World.
And here we go.
Everybody, let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Call Mac 244-0077 or text 809-0993.
It's showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Exclusively on 99.3 The Truth.
7 minutes after 4 o'clock on the 29th day of September in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is the second hour of Mac's World Live. You can catch this show live in Des Moines and around surrounding area on 99.3 FM. You can always get it on your smartphone at The Truth Network. No, what is it?
No, the.
Just Truth Network?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. And you'll go to our network, and there will be 14 radio stations listed, and you'll just put the one that says, I think it says Iowa on it. And you'll click on that, and then you can listen on your smartphone. You can also go to the TuneIn app, and you can go to Webcast One Live, W-E-B, Webcast, C-A-S-T-L-I-V-E, Webcast O-N-E Live. Boy, I screwed that up. Webcastonelive.com. And there you'll see what we call Passionate Radio with pictures. We have a little mini TV studio here. It's nothing fancy. We don't call it TV because we don't do anything like the big TV stations do, but we have a little TV station here. And we are able to have guests and show who they are and show videos. And Jebediah is the producer of all of this. So everything you see on the screen, should you watch it or watch it on podcast, is all being handled by one able-bodied human being, Jebediah. And he does a great job, and we appreciate him. He is a senior at Grandview College in broadcasting, and we're very blessed to have him here. Jeb, we're very blessed to have you here. Thank you for choosing to be a part of this. And then there's the other side of that coin, Frank. And Frank's like the feral cat that one day I put out. I wasn't even milk. Here's what I did. I had a cup of coffee. I put a little vanilla, a half and half in my coffee, those little blue things you get at Quick Trip,
Yeah, it would have chased me away. It was not coffee.
And I dropped it on the ground, and he came in and started licking it, and he hasn't left since. So Frank is here, and Frank's job here is to make me look good. And boy, does he make me look good.
Dang, you look good today.
No, not physically. I mean, well, okay.
He does your hair.
Yeah, right. Frank is my hair and makeup guy.
Yeah, he's your hair and makeup guy.
Ew, that just seems creepy. All right, and then Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, is he's our smart one. He's the one that's got all the brains. If you want to know who had the brains in the group, it's Bob. And he also is our cat in the hat watching the chat at 515-809-0993. That's our Service Legends Truth text line that you can call. And then, of course, Chris Roloff, who he just makes his way in here. He doesn't ask. He's the boss, right? His office is down at the end of the long hallway. And you know his office because it's the biggest. And it's got all this fancy cherry wood furniture. And but we respect him for his title, just not for his job. So we appreciate him being here, and thank you for being on the radio. All right, speaking of the Service Legends Truth text line at 809-0993, Bob has a text.
I do. And it says, religion is the price we pay to order our lives. Government is the price we pay to live our lives in an orderly society. Politics is the price we pay for power in that government. For the most part, religion and politics do not and should not mix. Religious freedom is not under attack by government. It's under attack by politics.
I don't agree with that. Politics is government. You can't have one without the other.
Well, I would disagree with that.
You can't have one without the other?
Absolutely. Politics
you can have government without politics.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah, I think so. It's rare, but it's possible. So this kind of goes back to your question that you asked me right before the break that led into nothing. But is there a difference between some of the civics versus some of the politics? So, Mac, think about people who are on school boards and local, very specific
Sure, city council,
city
school
councils,
boards,
those kind of things.
county.
Where their goal is not to have power in the grand scheme. In other words, they don't have a career trajectory that they're trying to go on. They're just really trying to help out what's going on. They see a need and they fulfill that need. That's government. I mean, that's government in its most fundamental form.
Okay.
Can you have that without the way you define politics?
The games we play for power.
Yeah, just know that when I say politics here, I kind of lump a lot of that, especially from the federal level, all into one, because it's just an easy way to say that.
Sure.
If you said, hey, is there really a difference? I would agree with your assessment or whoever you were quoting. There is a difference. Now, I'm not saying I would change my mind on how I'd interact with those differences, but there is absolutely a difference between what Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are trying to do in the election and the guy who is running for the school board because he sees an issue with the local schools that he feels like he could really help out with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the differences I see.
Yeah, radically different. And one is very divisive. You think the national political scene, that game, all the stuff that Donald Trump's saying, all the stuff that Hillary's saying, they're saying about each other back and forth, none of that has to do with governing. None of that has to do with civics. None of that has to do with where my taxes are going to go. None of that has to do with any of the things that affect my neighbor. Those are just two people who want your vote really bad, and they're willing to do and say anything to get your vote. And I think we do miss that, and that stuff is disgusting because they all lie on some level. You know, Donald Trump. One of the things in the debate Monday night that I really liked was that Donald Trump really sounded like a guy who was talking about the things he was passionate about. And I bring that up to say that two of the issues that were not talked about. Three of the issues. I don't think he brought up the Supreme Court thing, but he didn't bring up the life issue, and he didn't bring up religious freedom. Why? Donald Trump doesn't care about those things. He only cares about those things in order to get the vote of evangelicals. He's pandering to evangelicals to say, vote for me. He's lying to them to get them to vote for him. That's politics. That's a political game. He doesn't really care about those things.
Well, I agree, but I disagree a little bit because that wasn't necessarily Lester Holt's agenda. He named before the debate started the three topics of areas that he was going to hit, and it didn't involve life or marriage. So it's a little unfair to put Trump in that box that maybe the next debate will be on social issues, and he may have more commentary on that.
You're right. He might. But I would be willing to wager, even if the next debate was about social issues, I don't see Trump coming out as strong on social issues because he's simply catering to the evangelical base. That doesn't mean you shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. I'm just saying let's just be honest and say that Donald Trump is more of a guy who's interested in the business, the economics, trade, especially. My goodness, is he passionate about our trade politics, things like that. So the rest of the stuff that he's talking about and the rest of the stuff he yells about and screams about, Hillary Clinton's emails, all that's just nasty politics. Yeah. And none of that has to do with civics and nothing has to do with government.
And all of it is unfortunate.
Yeah, there's that.
Well,
yeah.
Let me give you an example of how people are playing both sides of the fence here. You mentioned people getting on city councils and police departments and local things trying to just make a difference. But then you've had an agenda and an effort by the homosexual community to get on these city councils, in these police departments with purpose and work their way into government positions. You get judges in the federal positions, even all the way up to the presidency of the United States, to support the gay agenda. They're looking for an agenda, and they started at the very grassroots level of politics, and they infiltrated their way in. Now they feel like it's their time to push that agenda forward because they've got all the pieces in place. So while I agree with what you're saying, that's what politics ought to be, is you want to make a difference in something. You're not trying to line your own pockets. You're not trying to, you're trying to do something for the benefit of everybody. You're not just trying to line your personal wealth in your personal pockets. You go to D.C., you go to government, and then you go home.
4:15, our special guest today is Davey Bloom from Two Rivers Church. They meet at the Des Moines Social Club, 10:30 every Sunday morning. And if by chance you're listening and you're a part of a church and for whatever reason you're thinking about maybe moving out of your building, selling your building, becoming a mobile church, meeting in homes, whatever you might be doing, give me a call or contact me or Davey, because they are looking to buy a permanent church home somewhere in the Des Moines area, preferably in the downtown area. So, I just had an idea on that. I'll tell you later. I just had an idea. All right. So anyway, contact myself or
801 grand.
well, they haven't put anything where the Embassy Club was.
There you go.
That's still all wide open spaces. They haven't rented it to anybody yet. I think it'd be pretty long elevator ride. All right. Coming up a little bit later, we're going to talk about the ASSC, the Atheists. No, what is it again?
It is the After School Satan Club.
After School Satan Club.
Every time I say it, it sounds like it's a joke.
Yeah.
It really sounds like
I'm waiting for Mickey Mouse to come in. Yeah. M-I-C. What would it be? It'd be S-A-T-A-A-A-A. No, not enough letters.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard for them to.
A-C-C-U-S-S.
H-O-U-S-E.
Frank, you shouldn't
D-U-M-B. That's all I got. Just dumb.
All right. So anyway, so it's the Atheist After School Satan Club, and
No atheist.
No atheist.
No atheist.
After school.
Actually, though, in all seriousness, though, the Satanic Temple would say that most of them are really atheists. But that's a whole. Are we going to talk about it now?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it when we come back.
Okay.
We have a break coming up, and then we're going to talk about it. And I just want you to know the world I live in here. As you may or may not know, for the last 100 and some days, I have been on a pretty heavy-duty diet, pretty heavy-duty get healthy. I had a heart scare several months ago, and the doctors looked at me and said, well, it's time. You got to do this. And so I've lost, 43 pounds or something like that. So what does Chris Roloff do today? He sits in front of me and eats orange Pop-Tarts. One of my favorite foods in the whole world. And they're Orange Crush. They taste like the pop, right?
Yep.
And I don't know who he made more hungry, you or the dog.
Are you giving that to my dog?
Absolutely not. I'm not sharing.
Yeah, you're not sharing, are you? Coming back live with Davey Bloom.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the year, you turn the kids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi. My name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
4:21, 21 minutes after 4 o'clock on the 29th day of September in the Lord's year 20. What do you think about him and they? if714.com. if714.com joined thousands of people praying together for 40 days leading up to the election. This Friday is day 40, and everybody will be praying. Everybody will be asking you to pray. And it's, excuse me.
Your dog is making a mess, and I'm having to fix it. Thank you. Continue with your little radio broadcast. Thank you.
So go to www.if714.com, and at 7:14 in the morning and 7:14 in the afternoon, you will receive a Bible verse which will invite you to bend a knee before you cast your ballot. That's from Drew Zahn, who is the new leader at the Family Leader here in Des Moines.
And they wonder, people wonder why it says Grouchy Pants on my door. I think I just demonstrated the Grouchy Pants. I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do a radio show. I've got my most special guest here, David Bloom.
Yes.
Most special, Davey Bloom.
Davey.
And you're being a crab. You're eating Pop-Tarts in front of me.
Well, he was saving your dog.
He didn't bring enough to share with the class.
No, he didn't. I don't think you should be allowed to do that. And like a girl, he sits over there on his phone, texting.
Picasso was chewing on wire, and he thought...
No, he wasn't. Picasso doesn't chew on wire.
He had his leg caught up in the wire, and he was taking our volume box with him.
All right, so if you were to go to the NewYorkTimes.com online, there is a feature article about religious freedom in America, and they chose to focus in on Des Moines, Iowa. Mainly Dick and Betty Odegaard, who lost the Gortz house to the Civil Rights Commission because they didn't want to house a gay wedding in their church. And the two boys that came and targeted them were already married. And somehow the Civil Rights Commission thought that was still okay to take their case. A fraudulent case. They were already married. After they lost the Gortz house, they got together with Ryan Jorgensen with Harvest Bible Chapel. And somehow the good Lord made, made lemonade out of lemons. And now members of that church, they are happy and a united family, but there will always be the cloud looming over them that our government took their building, their business, their passion away because to protect the rights of other people who already had exercised their rights. But none of that matters. None of that matters in today's society. There is no truth. The question was asked this morning in my Bible study. Where do we find truth? Ask a 21-year-old kid. Where do you find truth? Oh, I don't know. In society? Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, I don't know. In the news? Yeah, that's a good place to go. The only place you're ever going to find the truth is in the Bible. And I knew that before I even knew who Jesus was, or I accepted him. The truth is in the Bible. If you ask somebody how they know the difference between right and wrong, the only correct answer, I'm sorry, there is a wrong answer to that. And the wrong answer is anything that doesn't say the Bible. And those people who choose to live a life outside a biblical worldview are going to have a really short vacation here on earth and then spend eternity separated from God. Now, maybe they're okay with that. Maybe living a life of eternity separated from God is okay with them. But they don't realize the benefits or the consequences of living a life with God. And it's getting worse and worse and worse as time goes on and on and on. We now had a situation just 2 years ago in Grimes, Iowa, where an elderly couple, I shouldn't say elderly, retired couple, took their life savings to open up this dream, an old church, make it into a chapel so people can get married there, have food, have art, have flowers. And our government came and take it away because they refused to allow a gay couple to get married there. Now that is the loss of religious freedom. How long are we going to put up with it? At what point do we, the church, stomp our feet and roll our fists and say, enough's enough? See, I believe the church should have done that in the 50s and 60s when it came to divorce. We never should have allowed a no-fault divorce. Never. And we ought to make it harder for people to get married, not so darn hard to get divorced. And then came along gay marriage. It wasn't just good enough that they could go to the county and get a certificate of marriage for $25 and get married. No, we had to go all the way to the Supreme Court of Iowa and eventually to the Supreme Court of the United States to determine that anybody can marry anybody at any time. Now, I'm not against gay marriage. I'm just against the way they went about it. Because the way they went about it is they stripped every Christian naked of his or her religious freedom and said, you will stand alone with the fire hose on you, because that's the right thing to do in America. Davey Bloom is my guest from Two Rivers Church. They meet at the Des Moines Social Club at 10:30 every Sunday. And once again, Frank has something very unnecessary to add.
I would suggest it all started with prohibition, where the Christians dropped the ball. But the gay agenda or the gay movement is not out to just have tolerance now. They're out to shoot the wounded on the battlefield. The Christians are the wounded on the battlefield. They're out to take your businesses away. They just don't want tolerance of your view. You can have yours, we'll have ours. We'll just go to separate corners and everybody live happily. They're here to shoot the wounded. They want your businesses. They want to extract a pound of flesh out of Christians. I'm sorry, but that's what they want.
They do, because that's the only way they're going to get any flesh. They're going to have flesh their entire existence. But it's going to be dirty flesh. It's going to be sinful flesh. And that sin can never be washed away because they simply don't call on the blood of Jesus or what was done on the cross to be finally free. Free. Remember how you used to feel before Jesus mugged you? Everything bothered you. You worried about everything. The feces committee upside in your head just went around and around and around and around. You had no idea what was right from wrong. Dad said it was right. No, Mom said it was right. Grandpa said it was right. Grandma said it was right. The preacher said it was right. The governor said it was right. And yet they were all wrong because God wasn't in the middle of it. What religious freedom are you afraid you're going to lose next? Is it the right to carry a Bible in public? Is it the right to stand up in the middle of the mall and preach the gospel? Is it the right to cross yourself like a Catholic or a Lutheran or Episcopalian might do? Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Shoulder, shoulder. You know what it is. What about when that becomes offensive to a non-believer, a non-follower? What happens when the government comes in and tells your preacher that he can't speak about abortion? He can't speak about gay rights. He can't speak. He can't read from the Bible because the Bible will be deemed wrong. It's coming. I want to know what you think. 515-244-0077. The Service Legends Truth text line is also open at 515-809-0993. Chris, tell us about this school in Oregon and what's going on up there, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's interesting. You know, you think about religious freedom, and we were talking about that, and religious liberty, and there's a group of people in Portland, Oregon, that want to exercise their religious freedom. The Portland chapter of the Satanic Temple has reportedly succeeded in bringing its after-school Satan Club to an elementary school within the city limits of Portland. They are planning to have their first after-school program on October 19th.
And it's Satan. Tell me what it after-school Satan Club.
Right, it's the after-school Satan Club. and held by or put on by the Satanic Temple. One of their representatives told the paper where I got this article that members of the Satanic Temple are atheists. Many of the members of the Satanic Temple are atheists who see Satan as an allegory for free thought, and that the program is intended to promote, quote, benevolence and empathy for everybody. The purpose of this organization is meant to counter the Good News Clubs, which are an after-school program put on by Child Evangelism Fellowship, which is a Bible-centered organization. So if you're familiar with these programs at elementary schools all over the nation, Child Evangelism Fellowship has these Good News Clubs. They're Bible programs that are after school voluntarily. Kids can attend these. And so the Satanic Temple, really all over the United States, is trying to get, that's their goal, according to this article. Their goal is to have these satanic clubs, these after-school Satan clubs, at the elementary schools where Good News Clubs are happening, purposely to counteract those. So they want to go, just like I think their thinking is, and I've looked into this a bit, that they want to counteract, from their perspective, the evil that Christians are doing by having these Christian clubs at the school. They say we want an alternative.
Davey, at what point do you as a pastor, do you as a church leader, go in front of your congregation and say, enough's enough? It's time to fight.
You've brought up a whole bunch of things, not the least of which is the Satan Club.
Satan Club.
Give me one, because they're not all on equal footing.
Let's say the Satan Club decided they were going to meet at 10:30 in the morning at the Des Moines Social Club, just in a different room than yours.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. What would happen if the government would say to you, you can't read from the Bible anymore?
I would ignore them.
You would ignore them. Would you go to jail?
Sure.
See, here's the question I have on that. What good are you in jail?
What good was the Apostle Paul in jail?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's true for about 90% of all of the history of Christianity, is they've been in jail.
Many of the epistles, right,
are written.
They were written from jail.
From jail or from house arrest.
Frank?
Well, I would suggest the founding of this country was based on religious principles, and I don't believe we were chosen, but I believe we were specifically blessed by God to be the religious beacon to the world. So if God give us these blessings of being the light and the beacon to the world for religious economic freedom, we need to do everything to keep those rights free so we can keep doing what God has given us the mission to do.
Yeah, and again, I would argue that is not our kingdom. Our kingdom isn't of this world. We're not here to promote anything that has to do with the United States. As a Christian, not as a citizen, but as a Christian, ultimately what we're judged on is not whether we kept our religious freedom. God will never hold you accountable for whether you kept certain laws in place or got other certain laws passed.
Really?
That is not. Oh, absolutely not. Really? Absolutely not.
I'm not suggesting this is his kingdom here. I'm not suggesting that at all.
I understand. But if you're going to sell out for something, if you're going to put your time, effort, and energy into something, what is going to give you the most eternal reward?
Jesus.
Absolutely.
Making disciples of all men.
Absolutely. And turning their hearts to him will result in some of these things you guys are talking about. Going after the laws will never turn someone's heart. I would really like to talk to you about what you said about divorce, because I want to understand your point of that.
Okay, we'll do that when we come back. My point earlier was that the church failed when it comes to divorce. We'll talk about that next, live on The Truth.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right, good afternoon. It's 4:38, and it's the 29th day of September in the Lord's year 2016. Don't forget, we have Testify the first Wednesday of the month. We do it at the Urbandale Pizza Ranch. And what Testify is, it's very simple. Don't try to make it into something big and fancy. It's a bunch of Christians, or not. Anybody's welcome. We come in, we do some prayer requests. Maybe some people have some announcements. And then somebody gets up for 20, 25 minutes and gives their personal testimony. And that person is your neighbor. That person is probably not your pastor, probably not someone that is evangelically famous, but they are just a simple person walking the walk and talking the talk and following and believing in Jesus. And it is one of the best experiences you'll ever have in listening to somebody's true blue story about how Jesus came and took over their lives. And we have a very, very special guest this Tuesday. Pastor Davey Bloom will be there giving his personal Didn't you say you were going to do that? No, actually, Chris Roloff, our own station manager, Chris Roloff, has finally gotten up enough guts to talk out loud. Is your wife going to be there? Is your wife and daughter going to be there so people can meet him?
You kidding me? You think my family wants to listen to me talk?
Well, I don't want to listen to you talk.
Well, you don't have to come.
I don't have to come.
I'm just kidding.
Right. I don't have to come. All right. So anyway, here's what would be great.
What?
You know who's never been to a Testify?
Bob.
No, Bob's been to one. Haven't
Frank?
you? No? Frank's never been to one.
It'd be cool to have Frank come.
Davey's never been to one.
There's a lot of people that unfortunately don't come.
I don't think Jeb's never been to one.
I mean, seriously, Pizza Ranch and hanging out with people?
You're right. That just, Pizza Ranch just moved it up in my book.
Yeah. And it's a small organization. We have anywhere from 12 to 20 people. It's not a lot. We don't want a lot of people. We purposely have a small room. We want it intimate. I suppose if we ever grew into the size of like an auditorium, I don't know what we do, but God's kept it small. God's kept it intimate. It's kind of a club. It doesn't cost anything. If you don't want to eat, then it's free. You don't have to pay any fee to get in or anything like that.
Now, the Bible says don't tempt your brother. Cause him to stumble. And Bob loves pizza, and he will blow his carbs if he goes to Pizza Ranch.
What's your excuse?
I sit here and monitor the phones when you two are gone.
That was convenient excuse. Also, for those who don't know, Testify is also an extension of the Christian Business Network. And this is right now, the Christian Business Network has one meeting every month, which is this Testify. It really doesn't have much of a business purpose. This is a spiritual purpose. But this coming Wednesday, which is October 5th, we're going to make a big announcement about kind of relaunching the Christian Business Network as an opportunity for business people in the Des Moines metro area, not necessarily a network like you would have like a BNI or that kind of a thing, but more of a place for business people to come together, work with each other to grow in their businesses and their professional life, how to be better stewards of what God has done, work with one another. You know, there's the biblical principle that many counselors is very good. You know, wise men have many counselors, and so the Christian Business Network is designed to bring men and women together for business focus, and we're going to kind of announce the launching of that. So if you're a business owner or have a passion about business, we'd love to see you this Wednesday, October 5th. Yeah, I'll be sharing my personal testimony. We'll have food, and we'll give you more details on how the Christian Business Network is going to continue going forward.
Oh, so we're also going to talk. Are you going to do that speed thing we talked about?
Not initially, but again, we've talked a lot about doing this for a really, really long time, and so instead of talking about it, we're just going to go ahead and attempt to fail. We're going to go ahead and try to start doing it, and really make it a priority to let it grow organically and to push each other to not only be better businessmen and women, but also grow a business network of Christians that can help each other out. And this has some tangential relationship to the Odegaard story. Because one of the things that was brought up is this is a business. The Odegaards had a business, and the larger Christian business community did not come and back them up.
No, not at all.
They really were just left out to dry, partially because many of the other business owners in the community didn't know what was going on until they found out about it like everybody else did in the paper. But if we had a Christian business network where we knew each other and we were praying for one another and we were building each other up on a regular basis, when things like this happen, we could help each other navigate these muddy waters. You know, there are people that own large hotels in the Des Moines metro area that are Christians, and they've gone through some difficult stuff, and they're wise on how to handle some of these issues. So getting the feedback and wisdom from those people is something we want to build on. So anyway, I'm rambling now. We're making fun of you, Mac, for pontificating, and now I'm doing it. But anyway, love to see you October 5th. I'm going to talk, but most importantly, pizza.
All right, let's go to Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat, who's got a Service Legends Truth Text Talk message at 809-0993.
Okay, this is getting back to the Satanist thing.
The Satanist thing.
After School Satan Club.
After School Satan Club.
Right. And it says they can't be atheist. If you believe in Satan, then you have to believe in God.
Ooh.
Yeah, you explained that. That's not what they mean. They're using Satan as an opposition to God.
Right. They're using it really for the purpose of being inflammatory, right?
Right.
Frankly. What did they say? I'll find the exact quote, but they really just want benevolence and free thinking. And here we go. They see Satan. The Satanic Temple is mostly atheist. They see Satan as an allegory for free thought. So they see Satan as a free thought thinker. Really, they're foolish, but it's, you know, they're trying to be shocking on purpose to kind of get people's attention.
They're trying to be cute by half.
Cute by half. But, you know, I think in a world, Davey, where we want religious freedom, we have to say this is okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Max said if they moved into the social club right next to us, what would we be worried about that? No, not at all. Whatever, they can do whatever they want.
Now,
hold on. So we said, and I want you to tell me what you were saying or what you meant by the church failed on the divorce thing, you know, in the 50s and 60s.
All right, I'll tell you what I think I meant, and or I'll tell you what I said. Gosh, I can't let one little thing fall out of my mouth wrong in this room without these four guys. Luckily, Dacia's here. If Dacia wasn't here, there'd be nobody that loved me. Actually, I'm going to go one bigger than you on the church.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you that today's society started going to heck in a handbasket when, and I'm going to get crap about this, and I don't get mad at me, but it's when we empowered women to leave their natural role in the family as a mother, as a nurturer, as a homemaker, and we drove them into the workplace for one simple word: greed. We wanted more. We wanted 2 cars, not 1. We wanted 4 bedrooms, not 3. We wanted 2 houses, not 1. So society drove the women out of the houses, away from the children, away from what God created them to be, was a mother. And we said it's okay to leave your kids at home and be a latchkey kid. Then we said, oh, and by the way, now that you're living on your own and you're making your own money, and you've just proven you can do everything, including the man's job, we'll make divorce okay too. So women, you can leave your husbands. Men, you can leave your wives. Adultery doesn't matter. There's no fault divorce now. So you want to get a divorce, you want to get a divorce. That's what I mean by
So if the church had fought, give me an idea of what the church would have done from because you were using that in the context of religious freedom, in the context of the political, of the laws. What could the church have done that would have stopped that from happening?
Made it, I don't want to say harder to get married. I don't care about how hard. The divorce is never the problem. It's the marriage that was the problem. You take a look at people who are getting divorced, you can probably take it all the way back to the beginning and say, oh, I missed that. Gee, that relationship was based in sexual sin. It wasn't based in a biblical worldview or a biblical marriage.
Okay, so what law are you going to pass?
I'm not going to pass any laws.
Okay, so then what is the church doing? So you're saying the church is dropping the ball, not from a law perspective, but from a moral interacting with people's perspective.
Before a church marries a couple.
So what does that have to do with religious freedom? When we come back after this break,
I'll explain that.
You'll explain that.
I'm not sure it does, to be honest with you. All right, we'll talk about that when we come back live. See, we're out of time, Frank. You can watch the time. It's time.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coach with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common, everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right, 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Dave V. Bloom has been here for the last 2 hours. Love it when Davey's here. Always love it when Davey's here. Two Rivers Church, Des Moines Social Club, 10:30 in the morning on a Sunday morning. Let's go to the phones right now where John is standing by. John, you're live in Mac's World. How you doing today, John?
Good, Mac. I just want to back you up on how the church dropped the ball on divorce. They stopped preaching God hates divorce, and because it started touching the preachers' families and then the preachers, and they started letting up, just like they have a lot of other sin. It's easy to preach the gospel inside the four walls and touching the base of religious freedoms. As long as you can preach it inside the walls, you're okay. But Jesus Christ went out in everywhere. He preached in the synagogues. He preached in the street. And if we lose religious freedoms, we won't be able to go out and evangelize as much as we need to out in the streets and highways and hedges.
Yeah, and I agree with you, John, and I thank you for your comment. John's a good listener of the show, and I appreciate him. Here's the other place the church screwed up. They should not allow divorce under any circumstance unless it is harsh, reported, documented physical abuse. There is a new buzz phrase going around in this country, and it's called emotional abuse. And women and men alike are claiming that they're being emotionally abused in a marriage. You know what the definition of emotional abuse is, Davey? Emotional, you feel it. Abuse, you don't like it. That's all it is. And yet I hear people after people after people claiming that they've been emotionally abused for 5 years, 10 years, 30 years in their marriage. And this is being pushed by the counseling community because all of a sudden now it makes them a victim. And let's face it, it's a lot. When you don't have Jesus in your life, you are a victim. You are constantly being persecuted by the world, by somebody else, by my God, your God, Jesus, Hindu, whatever it is. We need to stop this wussying around on churches and make people stay married. You said I do. You said it before God. You said it to your Creator. You listed all the things that you would do, better and worse, richer, poorer, sickness and in health. Well, darn it, we ought to stick to that. And the churches are failing there. You disagree? What would you do if a young couple...
Well, hold on.
All right.
Hold on.
All right.
So, yes, the church has definitely failed in a lot of areas, but it's in the marriage one, which is interesting that we bring that one up in this whole context. But yeah, the church has failed in that area. I don't know that it's as much as the church failing as it is people's perception of things, the way people view marriage. So I'm a big believer that people today are as bad as they've always been, that sinfulness of humanity has gone all the way back to the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're not worse today than we ever were. We're not better than we ever were. We're just as sick and depraved as we ever were, which is true. And so there are certain times when cultural norms put pressure on people to do things. And 50 years ago, the cultural norm, 100 years ago, the cultural norm was to stay married. That doesn't mean they were having a good marriage or that they were healthy.
I understand that.
So maybe staying married happened just because it did. That doesn't mean it was necessarily good for the kids. It doesn't mean it was necessarily good for the husband and the wife. So, I mean, you talk about making it harder for people to get married. To me, that seems like an impossible task. How would you ever know? Yeah, we're going to make you go through counseling classes. Do you know that counseling classes before you're married are almost useless?
Yeah, I agree.
Then what are you going to hold people accountable to get married? You have to do what before we're going to marry you in our church to make it harder?
Let's do real marriage counseling.
You can do whatever type of marriage counseling you want to. It's almost useless.
All right, let's go to the phones where Lisa is standing by. Lisa, you're live in Mac's World. How you doing today?
I'm fine.
So what's your thought on this?
So you don't believe in emotional abuse? Or well, I know that you had that gal on a little while ago, and she was being emotionally abused, and I think maybe physically abused, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I've had several people on that have gone through abuse in their marriages.
And I don't think Mac's discounting that there is emotional abuse. I think what he's saying is the definition of it is so broad that people are claiming it when it may not be true.
Correct.
And that could be, but I mean, I just feel like in the church we have a tendency to not try to understand what people are going through. And I don't know, and everybody's reality is different. And I'm not talking about relativism. I'm talking about, and I agree, there's some people, well, he won't let me go out and party with the girls. That's emotional abuse. Okay, whatever. But, there's some men that use it just to control their wives, and their wives won't do anything without checking with him, and they're with their fear. I mean, they have so much fear. I just think we have to be careful.
Yeah, and Lisa, I agree. I don't want you to hear me say that there is not verbal or emotional abuse that's legitimate in marriages. There are. But what's happening is there's this tide rolling through counseling and counselors. It's like a culture that's being adopted. And there's this new thing called emotional abuse. And now the churches are accepting this. There's nothing in the Bible that talks about emotional abuse. And yet churches, one after another, are saying, oh, yeah, that's grounds for divorce. Oh, yeah, that's grounds for divorce. Oh, yeah, you can get a divorce.
Yeah, and that's where I would say the church needs to step up, is in supporting people after they're married. Again, I think pre-marriage counseling is almost useless, but counseling really should start, about 6 months after marriage, because that's when you can actually make a difference.
I like that. You know what? That's a good idea. No, I'm serious.
Yeah, so
once they get married,
yes,
then you got to have counseling.
That's when you start helping them, because now they've made the commitment. Now you're helping them fulfill the commitment. Prior to the commitment, you can tell people anything. Hey, it's going to be hard. He's going to hurt you. She's going to break your heart. It doesn't resonate, and it'll never resonate. And you're wasting your time. Again, I don't want to say that pre-marriage counseling is all bad. It's not all bad. There's good things about it, but from the perspective of having an end result of a successful marriage, pre-marriage counseling has almost no effect. Almost no effect.
Frank.
Well, emotional abuse should be the standard for legal separation, but it shouldn't be the standard for divorce. Divorce has a standard, adultery.
That's right.
I think that can be physical adultery. I think it can be spiritual adultery if a man and woman are married and they're church-going members and one of those members decides to leave God. I believe that's also a standard for divorce. But adultery is the only standard. If somebody's being abused, nobody's asking you to stay in that abuse, but you don't make that abuse better by going and jumping in a relationship with somebody else. You enter into what is known as legal separation, and you give that person a chance to see if they want to straighten up and continue in the marriage at all. But you never make the situation better by involving other people.
All right. Thanks for coming today, Davey. It's always exciting when you come. I'm sorry that Chris pontificated so much. I really wanted to hear.
We'll work on that with him.
I know. I wanted to hear more from you. But tomorrow should be a fun and exciting show. Fridays are always 15% more fun, and we're looking forward to having you here in Mac's World. Now, don't shut off the radio. You're going to have to listen to it again. You're carrying a resentment against somebody. I don't know how old that wound is. Maybe it's fresh. Maybe it's ancient. But it's time to surrender that to Jesus, because he preaches and he means it. You will be forgiven how you forgive others. I'll see you in church.